Hello, viewers and subscribers. Welcome once again my new screencast. This is the screencast is the continuation of the previous screencast, like 30, 34 numbers up to 30, 34.25. So here today I try to discuss with you about the how the applications deployed into the customer environment. I mean, how the application deployed into the production environments. That was the idea. This is the most important part when you are working with the as a professional developer in a company. So there is a many questions from the beginner in beginner up to the professional level. How you know the very well the developments, you know the how its development works, but you don't know how the end product to deploy the application to the client side machines. Maybe your application to deploy in the thousands of machines, and that's you don't know as a developer. You need, but that's the idea that I try to explain you how the in the professionally, when you did the application development, how you deploy the application into the client machines in thousands of client machines. And if you see the pictures, like in the DevOps cultures, I mean, as agile or Scrum development way, you see the pictures. You have a development plans. You did the developments and you build and you did the test. This is the test means maybe the possibility. The test means the unit test or JUnit test if you are developing Java, and then you put it like in JUnit test. And also if it is the web application, then maybe you introduce your GUI or functional test, meet Selenium or JMeter for load testings. That's I will show you how when the our development is done, and how we deploy the application to the client machines, because I have no scope to deploy the client machine, but I try to deploy the application within locally as a different port. And even though if I have a network into my home networks, and I can try to deploy the application to the other machines. But in this case, I try to build the application as a standalone jar files with the Spring profile boot profiling concept, and then you can deploy the application to the different environment, like production environment, test environments, and even though release environment and QA quality assurance environments, that sort of things. And you see that there's a general pictures how the source code is located in the big bucket or GitHub, depending. And this is the Selenium tool. How can you do your web application GUI testing? And the Docker, if you use a Docker container, and you try to build the Docker image from your development and deploy the Docker image into the Docker container, or you can put the Docker container into the Kubernetes. If I have enough time, I will show you how you can make the Docker image out of your application, and how you deploy this Docker image into Docker container and integrate with the Kubernetes. And this you see in the right side, you see the options, operations. You deploy the applications, do the operation, and monitoring the application. There is a set of tools into the available open source tool. You can integrate this one. If you go to these pictures, this is the overall architecture, how our application, how our development process. You see, there's in the bottom level, because this is the application as the n-1 tier architectures, like if n-1 tier. If you are working really small company, then you act as like as a full stack developer. That means you need to manage your backend servers. You see that in the backend server, and development backend server, and then the production backend server, or even though you have a test backend server or release backend server or QA backend server, then you are responsible. If you are working really small company or middle-sized company, like the company is there is a 50 employees there, then you are the middle-sized company, then you are responsible as a developer. You have to do your backend preparations, and you have to do your API teams. And that if you have no API team, then you are responsible to build APIs. I mean, the APIs means the REST API or SOAP API, depending how your business requirements or business models is. So here's the web development. So with this for this case, I have just like I do everything from as a full stack developer. So we prepare our backend server, we prepare our models, our Hibernate or Hibernate Spatial models, or entity models, or even though with the Hibernate entity models you published your REST services, and then this is the idea. Is the middle layer is a really hard job. The API developments is depending which application model or which architecture you try to follow the your development process. So this case, for our application case, development case, we just build our Hibernate models, our Hibernate, normal Hibernate and a spatial Hibernate, because we have a lot of geo application, geo functionalities. That's why we integrate Hibernate. And end product, we produce our application as a standalone jar file with Spring Boot profile concept, and then we put here our complete application with all the Thymeleafs and as a view template engine and all the JavaScript necessary map libraries, and to integrate the complete applications. So if you don't use the any GeoServer or any map server, then this is the one of the architecture that you need to be follow. And here you see that the difference between the additional GeoServer. So everything is same. You integrate the GeoServer to install or to store or to publish or to expose your maps or your GIS dataset to the GeoServer, and then you connected with the GeoServer with your front-end technology or front-end developments. And I already talked about this one detailed development and show you how it works into my previous screencast, like screencast number 34. Just follow that one, then you can get the really complete and detailed development approach, how we did the development. That's the idea. So here is the idea. Then you go to the hour. That means you have plans. You need to develop. That means very fast when you try to develop any applications, any application in the world they have in the backend server. You need to prepare this backend server. If you see the backend server here, there's the complete pictures like. Backend. I already prepared the backend server. This has a database. It has for database, and it has all necessary models that in the Hibernate I just annotated it or I modeled it. The here is available is there. So this is that means when you have a plan like, okay, we need application for these cases, and then you need to be planned. Okay, I need this database. I need to prepare and all necessary privileges for this specific database user. And now I will show you how I did the database preparations, and it was available that I try to explain again to get the really clear pictures how you prepare your databases and how your sequence need to be generated and how they are integrated. But they are integrated, the development integration, I already get it. I already give it to you the screencast number 34.6, and then you can get the details 6 or 5, and depending on these two, and you can get it the clear idea how the Java client collect or call that you generated the sequences here and build the application. Let's start how you prepare your backend server. So you saw I used the PG admin 3. Now is the PG admin 4 is available in the market. You can, with the PG admin 4, even though you can visualize the maps or GIS data sets into the UI console, even though in the window. This is a possibility as an additional extension of the PG admin 4. So I'm using PG admin 3, and then you can do this one. So you see that I have the available databases for my all the other projects, like you have in total 34 databases, and what databases we need it here. So we build the database like here the UVSoftGroup geospatial applications. You see all the necessary sequences that we need to to get it build the sequences. Maybe here build the sequences here. So we need a sequence general sequence, and there is a sequence number. You see the source code here, and then you have like here the sequence generation and then address and building sequence, and then geometry sequence, plot sequence, registration sequence, and user role sequence. You get it how you can get these sequences to the call the sequences from the Java application. I already discussed that one. This is here the sequences. How can you call the sequences from there? This is you can just follow the previous screencast and you get the idea over. So here's all the 14 tables that we need to build the complete application. This is the 14 tables coming from the our models, our backend models, our Hibernate models, or Hibernate Spatial models. You see that everything is there, and there is our geographic information models. That's a little bit complicated. And then there's a geodata models. You send the geo columns. This is most important, the geo columns, to store your polygon line points and multi-polygon or multi-line string. That's things stored here. So this is a backend analyzer. So you see how is PPR used. So here, this is the screen that you see. We created our database, and then because we now try to use our GUI spatial functionalities, they need to be extend your backend server with the PostGIS extension. Then you can do the all geo processing tasks, and it means you can calculate the length of the roads or any line string, or you can calculate the area of any buildings, or even though any plots of the calculation, how much is it, if it's the 30, and then you can calculate the volume of the building, so plot of the building, even though you can calculate the heights of the building with the PostGIS extension. This is the most important, because for this application it is basically more focused how geo processing, how you can get the maps into your web applications and visualize your buildings, plots, and all roads and all things information with the OpenStreetMap or Leaflets, OpenStreetMap or Google Maps or Yahoo Maps or Bitmaps, or doesn't matter which maps you are using. Just you get the base map from the Google, so OpenStreetMap or Yahoo Maps or Bitmaps, and put it your information inside the put it your layer into the maps. That's so that means when you prepare your backend server with necessary user privileges, and then you prepare your GIS extensions for the GIS, PostGIS extension, topology extension, and just I already put it into this source code into my big bucket when I did the complete development, and then into the master branch. Then you can get it this script, and you run it this script, and then you can automatically build your backend server, and you are ready to implement, to start to the Java developments. That's the idea how our projects, when there's a professional way how we start the projects. So as a project planner or as a team lead, you need to be think about who will be prepare your backend server. If you are the full stack developer, then you are responsible to build the backends, and then write down your all sequences. Maybe when you build the sequences, then you need really special algorithms to your business models. So you see there is simple business model is started when 205 or 200, and it's up to this maximum number of the PostGIS that we allocated for us. Or maybe this number is complicated. Maybe there is a special timestamp with that one, the user flag is that one, or some national IDs or passport IDs, maybe something like that. That's depending how your business model, how you generate your primary keys, or how you generate the primary and foreign key relationships. That's the important part. So that's the idea. You make your project plan, your plans, and you prepare your backend server. Now your backend is ready. You try to build start to develop your Java application, and that's the idea. Let's have we did it at Java development. Now I try to deploy the applications to the any standalone, deploy the application as a standalone jar files and with the Spring Boot profiles, and then deploy this application to the client machines, or doesn't matter how many machines, thousands of machine or millions of machine, you can deploy it. That means every machines or any if you are using database cluster, the cloud cluster, then You have a cloud database cluster. That's you just build this cluster, database cluster, into the cloud cluster, and integrate, communicate, or call this cluster to your application. And doesn't matter how many machines you need to satisfy your client requirements. Now let's have a how we build our standalone jar files. This is the most important part. How we build it and how we configure how you write your script to deploy this application into the client machine. So let's have a start to do that one.